Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. So we have a St. Petersburg cycling hopeful for the Olympics, Monica Sereda, who's going to talk to us about what is Paralympic cycling or paracycling. Monica, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Jim, for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice to have an Olympian, a potential Olympian, living in St. Petersburg.
Paralympian.
I understand.
Olympic,
but potentially competing in Tokyo, right?
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
So I think there's a lot. You and I have discussed this before, but there's some confusion out there with those of us who are not familiar. What are the Paralympics, and how do they differ? Because we hear Special Olympics and regular Olympics, and how do you explain the difference?
The Olympics is for able-bodied personnel. Paralympics is for disabled, and a lot of people assume para means paraplegic, but it's actually parallel to the Olympics. Okay. That's what it means. Special Olympics is for mental disabilities.
Right. So give us an idea of the types of disabilities or limitations that people have who are competing in the paracycling.
Sure, we have, of course, we have people that are amputees that ride a hand cycle. We have kneelers that have like one leg or a certain disability to one limb or one joint that can kneel on a hand cycle. And that's considered the H class, which is H5, and varying degrees, they go all the way down to H1 for hand cycle, depending on their thoracic injury. Whether it's, the C injury for the neck or all the way down to the thoracic injury. So they classify them different depending on their thoracic injury. We also have the C class, which is the two-wheel upright riders. And they can vary degree from drop foot syndrome to a fused ankle, could be to a C5, to a minor brain injury, TBI, where they can still maintain their balance, C4. Amputee, below the knee amputee could be a C3, and then we get into where it's hand and limb deficiencies, C2 and C1. My category is considered the trike category, and I'm a T2 rider. I have traumatic brain injury, TBI. I have balance issues, my heart rate gets elevated. I am very shaky on a two-wheel bike. I can't ride a two-wheel bike at all. I will fall over, so I ride the T2 trike category. The T1 is for people that have higher degree. I compete against various people with multiple sclerosis, MD, muscular dystrophy, CP, and TBI. I'm sure there's a few others that I have not mentioned.
So Katie's put up a picture of your bike, and we were discussing a few minutes ago, your frame is a Willier, correct?
Yes.
One of the oldest Italian frame manufacturers.
Correct. It's basically a regular two-wheel bike. I never buy a regular bike. I usually just buy the frame and build it up from there. But it's a regular two-wheel bike. You just take the rear wheel, throw it in the garage. You're never going to use it if you do buy a rear wheel bike. It's an adaptive axle that goes on the back of your bottom dropout there, and it sticks back about another 3 inches. So you have to have a couple more links to your chain and move the rear derailleur back. There's another spot on the rear axle, and of course an additional wheel. So the weight encompassing that is approximately anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds additional weight with extra wheel, the axle itself.
So, but it's got 3 wheels and it's considered the trike category. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you would be competing against people in your classification correct, right? So you have people that are fit in your classification. You guys all compete for the same spots in terms of trying to get to the Olympic team or the Paralympic team.
Correct. I have one other teammate who is a silver medalist from 2016 from Rio that I compete against. There's also some that's on the national team. There's also some other personnel here in the U.S. I think maybe 2 or 3 other females that are in the T2 category that compete right now. Usually we see them at domestic events, such as Paralympic Nationals.
So tell me how it is that you become a Paralympic hopeful. How do you get into qualification and into the kind of the shoot to aim for a position in the Paralympics? How do you qualify?
The qualification process, of course, you have to get your medical qualification classification done, and
Right.
usually a national event starts the process. I started in 2015 and got my classification started. You get your first look, you compete then, and then if you continue on, they will confirm you. Internationally, you have to go over and you start, and they put you in a review category till they're able to do an observation. I did my first international event in May of 2017, and they had me in a review category, and then they will do a confirmed the year after. They review again and go over your medical paperwork again. You get seen by the doctors again as well, and then you ride, and they observe you. If they feel that you still are meeting that criteria, they usually give you the C for the confirmed.
Okay. So you're in a particular category, and you have to have qualifying events, right? In order
Correct.
to, and you've been competing actually on the U.S. international team since 2017. Am I correct?
Correct. The national team, yes, the U.S. national team since 2017.
Okay. All right, and you do that you have to qualify for that as well. You just, right? You have to.
Yes, every semester's kind of like, college. We have called semesters from January to the end of June. There's usually a race or two in there that we have to have so many points for, meaning your place position. So you get points for your place position. A lot of these races are international. There's usually one or two domestic races. And by your points, they calculate your points up, and there's usually a scale, and you make the national team. However, making the national team does not guarantee you to make the Olympic team. Correct, or any other big major team. So every big race that we have, like World Cups, World Championships, etc., you have to qualify for. So April coming up, we have what's called the Paralympic Open, Para-Cycling Open in Huntsville in April, and it's sponsored by Toyota, which is our sponsor. And we have to go up and qualify. We have the time trial on Saturday and the road race on Sunday, and whoever gets under national time standards. So for time, hypothetically, the trike might be 2 minutes per kilometer. So if I ride a minute 55, it might be, 90% of the time standards. So they take everybody, to include uprights, hand cycles, and whoever, they do a ranking list out of, per your percentage below the national time standard, and you're ranked from, 1 to how many athletes there are. And everybody that's under the national time standard, there's a cutoff, and those people will represent the team going to World Cups. And we have a World Cup in Belgium in May, and then in Italy as well.
And how does the World Cup competition figure into who gets on the Paralympic team?
It's your placement against your competitors worldwide. So same thing with point standards. I could become first and third, and my teammate could be second and second, and it's by points. Whoever has the most amount of points. Correct. Then we're cut off, and then they move you forward for World Championships. Usually we don't have World Championships during Paralympic year in the quad. This year they are doing World Championships. We don't know how many slots right now we're going to have for male or female, because we haven't had, because of no racing last year, of course, with the pandemic. But this year they're doing both World Championships and World Cups, because we need to make sure we have enough points across the board to see how many points Team USA women and Team USA men will have. Usually it's around 10 men and 7 women. And right now, until we have World Cups and World Championships, we don't know exactly how many total points we will have for slot allocations that UCI will give us. So we're being positive, and hopefully it's going to be 7 personnel. We have quite a wonderful women's team. We have the second best women's team in the world behind Great Britain.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And we're hoping that we get more slots. So the point totals, they will be taking approximately 4 women from the World Cups. They've already picked 1 person from Track Worlds from last year, and 4 women, maybe 5, depending on how many slots we have. And then Paralympic Trials will be in Minneapolis, June 19th, downtown Minneapolis this year. We'll have Paralympic Trials. Same concept. They rank us, you know, from 1 to how many athletes are there, and they will pick one, maybe 2 slots to add to the team, and the team will be announced on June 20th of this year in Minneapolis.
So when are the Paralympics? What's the date?
August 24th through September 5th. And
so you have 3 major events before then, right?
Correct. Yeah. All up to the games, and all points and totals and everything will be evaluated and consolidated to see where we're at as far as each individual person. And they take into account, you know, things happen, mechanical failure, et cetera, et cetera. A crash could happen in a race, a road race. Somebody, you know, we've had some of our other racers been hit from behind and their bike's been disabled due to somebody's riding crazy and crashed into them, or weather related, of course.
Right. So give us an idea of the event length for your competition. You do time trials and road races. What is the length of these?
Sure. Our time trials, usually for T2 categories, anywhere from 15 to 25 kilometers. So it's about 9 miles, 10 miles. Usually we race around a 15K. Different races. I know in Belgium, in Ostend, Belgium, last year it was an 18K. It's been anywhere from a 15 to an 18K, and it's flat. It's just like riding Fort DeSoto. It's right off the English Channel there, off the water. So it's wonderful. You get that breeze. So Fort DeSoto TT series, and hopefully they start back again this year, is a great a warm-up for going over to Belgium.
And we were talking before, so give us an idea of your training schedule. Because, you know, I was talking to you about the fact that we all know many cyclists who ride incredible mileage every week and compete in incredible mileage events, but you have limitations that don't allow you to do that kind of training. So talk about that a minute.
Correct. And I will finish. I didn't finish the road race. Our categories anywhere from 20 to 35 kilometers. So we don't ride very long distance. With my limitations, I not only, I was involved in an auto accident in 2012, and I have a C3, C4 neck fusion, back laminectomy, and a minor traumatic brain injury. So that's what's qualified me for Paralympic cycling. My classification was the TBI. The long distance riding for me is very difficult because I can't stay in that hunched over position with my neck and back. It bothers me tremendously. No matter how much strengthening I do around those areas, it still bothers me. I don't train long distance anything over 40 miles. I try not to go over 40. 40, 50 max is usually what I do. I ride for more quality, for speed, and endurance for the length. My training usually consists of a lot of base miles in the off season. As much as possible, I work up to riding, 2 laps with the St. Pete Bike Club. Fast Fridays, I try to stick with those guys on that second loop with the 8 a.m. ride, and they're going 24, 26. I might get all the way around to 31st Street, and then I'm dead. But I try to stick with them as fast as much as I can, and maintain my speed. I train a lot. I do go to Claremont a couple times in the off season to do a lot of climbing. I'm very excited. Fort DeSoto's bridge just recently opened up last week, so we'll be able to do a 3-bridge ride here with the Meisner, Bayside, and Fort DeSoto. So that's a bonus instead of going up to Clearwater to do the 3-bridge ride.
Yeah, sure.
The wind in the winter is also giving us some hills, so that's a bonus. I train early in the morning. I ride in the morning anywhere from 25 to 40 miles, depending on what coach has me do during that particular morning. Now I'm stuck on the trainer doing a lot of interval training. And this week we are in national team camp, although virtually. So we're on Zwift all week. I have a ride here in a couple hours on the trainer, so I'll be doing that. I'm also working with a leg trainer. He's been instrumental in getting me prepared last year, right before the pandemic canceled the games, but he's been very instrumental in getting me set up and get my legs just right. So I meet with him at least twice a week, just legs alone, but I also do other training. I have a rower here in my training room as well. I also have a separate gym membership aside, just here at AMP, just so I can go during, close to do upper body workouts as well.
And we were chatting before, I guess we assume that Olympic athletes, Paralympic athletes included, somebody's paying for all this, but that's not the case until you make the team, right?
Well, even though I'm on the team, we just get a small stipend. Our stipend is not a lot. I'm sure you've heard numerous stories of other athletes who are working while they're training. We do have a gold medalist pair figure skating in Ellington that actually works at the ice rink full time to pay their mortgage or their rent. There's Brittany Bowes, the speed skater out of Spring Hill. She's the world champion speed skater. She lives local at Spring Hill. The Paralympic captain for the para sled hockey is right here. Declan Farmer's right here in Tampa. So we have quite a big group local. The women's, Olympic hockey teams out of Wesley Chapel. We're all struggling. And it's funny, everybody thinks, oh yeah, you guys are funded 100%. It's not true. That's a big misnomer. We do get a monthly stipend, which isn't much. And, it covers whatever, I get my meals. Luckily, I get my meals macroed out. There's a wonderful company here, Made to Macro. Alexis Petovich has been great, and she macros all my meals out and delivers them to me every Saturday. I do, I get a discount with her, but that's, that is basically that, and my gym fee is funded by my stipend. That's it. So, everything else like bike maintenance, which I can do some stuff I can't, I have to take into the shop. That's not paid for. The lot of stuff that I do get a discount on is like 50% off of nutrition, like scratch or goo. Right. I ride NB wheels and I get 50% off the wheels, but I got to buy 3 and then I got to build them because those wheels aren't a regular wheel. For your rear wheel, you have to build the wheels. So then I've got to pay somebody to build my wheels and maintain, et cetera, et cetera. So it's expensive. Anything domestically, we are not funded domestically. We ride for whoever team we're on. Being retired military, I ride for U.S. Military Endurance Sports. I don't get any funding from them whatsoever. I wear their kit. I have to pay for their kit. I do get my registration reimbursed up to 20%. So it's something. So if my registration's $100, I'll get money discounted from that. But right. So the registration fee, the transportation, the food in the hotel, all that's on my own pocket. So I raise as much as I can, save, and, either carpool on up or what have you to get up to, Huntsville this year, as well as going to Minneapolis, and then nationals in Boise, Idaho will be in July. So there's 3 domestic races this year that are all funded out of our own pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I know that if you're named to the Paralympic team, correct, they start picking up expenses at that point, or more expenses at that point?
Anything international, like if I make the international team for World Cups, they pay for my flight, food, and everything over. Yeah. That's covered international. as well as being on the team. But anything domestic, unless it's a team-based camp or a prep camp for the Olympics, for the Paralympics, then that is only funded. But like I said, you know, this race in April, June, and July, those 3 races are all out of my own pocket. So we do the best we can as far as, you know, funding, cutting corners, scrimp, save, you know, try to carpool with other people. I try to ship my bike up prior to, so I don't have to pay. Thankfully, we used to be sponsored by United, and they are sponsoring us through the Paralympic Games just in Tokyo, but Delta has picked up our sponsorship. So Delta has waived the fees for bikes. So we don't have to, pay for, because a lot of people were complaining because it was $150 because they considered it oversized baggage.
Right. Well, you know, it's pretty incredible, Monica. I think it's interesting, and I think our viewers will find it interesting. You know, you have the injuries that occurred to you unexpectedly in 2012. You know, you're involved in a horrific motor vehicle collision, hit from behind, and yet through that, you know, it's so encouraging and inspiring that you compete at a high level, and you have been given the opportunity to compete within your limitations, which is really awesome. I think it's a very inspiring story, and I very much appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much.
Monica and Katie were chatting, and Katie sort of encouraged Monica in a strong way to establish a GoFundMe page. So Katie's putting a link across the bottom of the screen now that we would love to have everyone participate in supporting Monica and her efforts here by participating in the GoFundMe page. We very much appreciate you joining us today, Monica. I think it's been a fascinating conversation. I think there's so many things we've talked about today that I was not familiar with. And we all hope you do really, really well this year and get to go as far as you aspire to go onto the team and bringing home the medal.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you having me. I got to give a shout out to the St. Pete Bike Club. They've been really pushing me at the 8 o'clock ride every morning and making sure that, you know, as tired as I am from having a interval day and then a leg day and coming out the next day, I'm just dead. My legs are lead, and they really push me and won't let me slack. And I really appreciate them, because if it wasn't for them with my struggles and injuries and, you know, coming back from shoulder surgery last July, July, they really pushed me to get back to it. And I've had wonderful support here, family, friends, and you know, people like you that have reached out, and it's a blessing, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
It's been a pleasure, and it's been personally rewarding to get to know you. I'm Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. So as you know, we represent cyclists. We have a special passion to help cyclists, whether you've been injured in a bike crash or maybe even in a motor vehicle crash. If you need us, we're here for you. Monica, safe trips, do the very best, and you continue to inspire. Thank you so much.
Jim.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.